All right. Hey, Julie, good to see you. How are you today?
Great, Jonna, you as well. It's always fun to do these things with you, and you have such a great turnout. I'm looking forward to hearing from different people. You can, of course, listen, but participation is encouraged. Asking questions, you can use text. Jonna and her assistant are in charge of the show, and we're going to work together to make this really valuable time for you guys. So very excited. Thank you for having me, Jonna. I really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, this is a pleasure. I was thrilled when you offered, and I thought I'm going to grab Julie because we all want to have help with listings in 2022 every year. But This is the perfect time of year to be talking about this. I know we've got a ton of people coming in right now. If you want to just quickly, if you're in the chat, I'd love to see where some of our areas where people are representing. This is good for referrals too. What part of the world that you're in. Julie's coming to us from Puerto Rico. Fresh from a power outage, I heard.
That's fun. They're very random. It has very little to do with weather or anything else. It was just a 2 hour, or I think it ended up 3 or 4 hours, but just so you know, if I disappear, I have not been, lifted by aliens. I will get back on my cell phone. It'll take me 2 or 3 minutes. Hopefully nothing happens, but if it does, I'll just turn it over to you.
Awesome. I've got notes. We're good here. So I'm so happy to see everyone. I'm just going to check in with a few people where they're coming from. We've got Orlando, Greenville, South Carolina, Southwest Idaho, Phoenix, Orlando, Florida Space Coast. Hi, Cindy Lee. Boise, San Diego, Meridian, Space Coast, Florida again, Boise, Nashville, Tennessee, Madeira Beach, Florida, Raleigh, North Carolina, and that's just the start. So this is so fun. Eagle. This is the beauty. This is the blessing that came out of COVID. This is the norm that we're all just learning all over the world. Doesn't even matter. And I just think that's cool. So
totally agree.
Definitely. Okay, so we got a lot of people in the room. People are going to keep filtering in, but I want to get started because I know we have a lot to unpack. Do a quick introduction. So good to see everyone. Housekeeping items. If you could please keep your phones on mute during the call, that would be great. Want to make sure that we're getting a great recording of this too, so you can go back and listen to it again and again. And also, if you have a question during it, and we haven't opened it up for questions during that time, feel free to put your question in the chat so we can keep track of that and hopefully get to it by the end of the call. So for those of you that haven't met me, I am Jonna Weber. I lead a team in Boise, Idaho, with Jonna Weber Real Estate. I am brokered by eXp Realty, been with eXp since May of 2019. We did about 42 million as a team last year and are really focused on listings ourselves. Always have more to learn. So I'm excited to learn along with all of you this afternoon. And let me introduce Julie. So a lot of you know who Julie is. If you're a fan of her book or her podcast, you will know her well. But I have been listening to Tim and Julie Harris's podcast for several years, long before we became business partners at eXp Realty. It is, what is that? What is it called, Julie? Your longest running daily podcast?
It is. It's called Real Estate Coaching Radio. And you can find it on whatever you use for your podcast widgets, but you can also find us just searching Tim and Julie Harris, but it's Real Estate Coaching Radio. And we do a show, a new show every day, every weekday. And you can also catch all of the replays. I don't know how many hundred we're up to or 1,000, but they're generally by topic. So you can get up to speed. We just finished one right before I joined Jonna here.
Oh, that's awesome. I've been listening to Tim and Julie's podcast for years. And of course, she's got a best-selling book. She and Tim do, Harris Rules. And if you haven't picked up a copy of that, it's fabulous. I highly recommend it. And it's also important to note, besides being a top national coach, actually a #1 coach in the nation to all kinds of highly acclaimed realtors across the nation, she and Tim regularly sold 100 to 200 homes per year. So Julie knows her stuff. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you. It is absolutely my pleasure to join you. And I have to say, kudos to you and your team. We had the pleasure of seeing all of you guys on our US tour last summer. Was one of my favorite stops.
Our Boise folks. Yep.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is, what a professional group of agents you've got there. And I really believe strongly, it's one of the reasons we do our podcast, is that, you know, we all bring this industry up by setting a great example. And you guys are really leading the way on that. It was such a pleasure to meet. I didn't meet everyone when we were there, but it was great to see as many as we could. And I do think that, you set a great example. And those of you who go to Jonna, you can trust what she's saying to you. She walks in your shoes. She's going to give you good, timely advice. And I think, you're in one of those markets where it's kind of like a normal market. You've got, some people that visit there because it's certainly beautiful. But I think what works in a normal market works even better in, resort markets, coastal markets, whatever. So her advice is very valid, and you're a great leader for, your team, but also for all of your EXP family.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
And it's
my
so fun
pleasure.
because we've grown since you were here, and we have more that haven't had a chance to meet you yet. We'll have to have you back, and then these incredible agents all over the country. So
Definitely.
as we go to more events in the future, that will happen for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So as the years evolved, Julie and I became partners, of course, at EXP Realty, as we already share. And I know one thing that I've really aligned with Tim and Julie on is that we have a shared passion, of course, for agents, but the dedication to see agents succeed at the highest level. There's a lot of struggling agents out there. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of talking about how many agents are in the industry and so few listings.
Yes.
And so our goal is really to just make sure that we're equipping all of you and learning together to be the highest level of agent possible, and having a life too. I think that's important.
Yes.
And you've got to enjoy what you're doing. And we enjoy working with each other as colleagues. And the more that we can learn and grow together, the better. We've got a saying on our team, collaboration over competition. And that's what this is about today, where there's no secrets that we want to keep from anyone. We want to share in an open environment to make sure we're giving everyone the tools to succeed. So super excited to have everyone here today. Julie, I heard you say on a podcast, I think it was just on Friday, education, motivation, getting you into action. So here we go.
That's right. Well, so education first, because knowledge equals confidence and ignorance equals fear. So if there's something you're not doing or you're avoiding, you should be doing it. Not that that ever happens in real estate, but let's just say maybe, okay. It could be because you have a knowledge deficit, a skill deficit, a script deficit. Maybe you're pretty good with your scripts, but there's this one objection that just keeps on coming at you. And because it makes you squirm, you don't talk to as many people. Right now, we just finished a podcast about that. Just as a quick example, would be, well, I would list with you today, but what am I going to buy? And so many people are agreeing, well, yeah, there's not much inventory. And then that's the end of the conversation. Or they'll say something like, well, maybe we'll wait until the market crashes or something like that, but it's causing you to have fewer conversations or less conversations that result in what you're after, which is more listings. So I think that that's part of it. Knowledge equals confidence. That's the education piece. Ignorance equals fear, which causes you not to take as much action. And then the motivation, that's part of what we do as well, which is helping you, reminding you at some point, why'd you get into real estate in the first place? Do you still feel that? Are you still excited to be in real estate every day? And then getting you into action. What are you supposed to do about all that? So that's what that's about. And that really is the theme of our podcast. It's education, motivation, and getting you into action.
Totally. And yeah, you can get our butts off the couch. That's for sure.
Hopefully.
So one consistent thing I've heard year over year, and sometimes I still talk to newer agents specifically, and they're surprised by this, but the extreme importance of listings. If you're going to do one thing well in real estate, it's learn how to be a highly productive, successful listing agent. Why are you so intent on that?
Well, I think it's true in all markets, whether it's a buyer seller market, if you're high-end luxury, if you're first-time buyers, doesn't matter. This is the one truth that follows through everything. Look at it this way, and you guys might want to take a couple notes on this.
Yeah, please. Yeah, definitely. I've got mine.
Yeah, so draw a stick figure. We can all do that. I'm not a great artist, but I can draw a stick figure, right? And you're going to label them buyer. Okay. Now, some of you could fill your page with buyer 1, buyer 2, buyer 3. Okay. And put a price range, for each of them. But let's just say you've got a buyer, and let's say that this is also a fantastic buyer. In other words, they're either all cash, they're completely approved, they understand what the market is going to require of them to actually perhaps compete. In other words, they're like your dream buyer. They're coachable, they're in a great price range. This is somebody you want to work with. Well, how many transactions does that buyer result in? Maybe one, because that requires that they are competitive, that requires there's inventory for them to buy, that requires that somebody doesn't come in 50 cents higher than you and beat you out, or whatever the case may be. Maybe one transaction. Secondly, and I'm not against buyers. We're in no way against buyers. Buyers make the world go around. You have to, get good at buyers. Okay. But here's the thing. That buyer never has to buy. There's no buyer in the world who doesn't have options. They can stay where they are. They can rent. They can change apartments. They can move in with parents, move in with kids. They can travel the world. They can buy an RV. They could stay and do nothing. Okay. There is no buyer that has to buy. And people argue, well, 1031 exchange, they have to do the exchange. They could just pay the taxes. Remember, the taxes are not on the full sale amount. It's on the profit. Some people don't even want to hassle with it. They're like, especially in today's market where they're making all the money, right? I just pay the taxes. Okay. So, and some people would say, well, a tenant whose lease is ending, well, they can go rent something else. Okay. So one buyer on your page, your stick figure, right? Maybe one transaction. Now, let's say you're successful. That's great. You get them in contract, you close. Maybe they will repeat. Maybe they will refer, which is your best case scenario. That's fantastic. Maybe they'll never move again. All of these things can happen. Okay. Now, flip your page over, get a new piece of paper, and you're going to write, you can draw a stick figure house, okay, with a for sale sign in front. Your listing, put your name on the sign. It's Jonna's listing. Okay. Now, you will sell that house, especially in today's market. You guys generally don't even have to have price reduction conversations. Okay. It's more likely that you're going to think that it's overpriced and you're going to get even more than you thought, right? Okay. Different times, different coaching. This is today. So on your for sale sign, you're going to have that sale. You could have a second sale, very likely right now that you're going to sell it to your own buyer. Keep that in mind. And evidence of that is the fact that we had over 6 million sales last year, just reported through the MLS. Okay. There were 2 sides on every one of those sales. Now, how many of those did you see 0 days on the market, 1 day on the market? How's that happen? Did everybody see it all on the same day? Or did that agent already have somebody lined up? They popped it in the MLS to get the volume and that was it. That shows you they're selling their own listings. And you guys know a lot of times when you don't win, it's because the listing agent did. And they already had it lined up. That is a fact. We can complain about it. It's not fair, whatever. Listing agents would disagree with you. They had the buyer that put the deal together. That's it. Now, what if that seller, your listing, also is going to buy with you? That's transaction number 3. You may even have something for them to buy. That could be number 4. Our highest stack deal was 5 transactions where we had control over everything except the middle part of it. It was somebody else's listing. And it all closed. It was stressful, but it all closed. Okay. Now that seller is going to love you because you solved their problem. You sold their house. You helped them buy another house. They will repeat and refer unless they keep the house forever. Okay. So listings have more value because they generate more for you. Hopefully everybody's clear. And if you have questions about that, that's fine too. Okay. But every listing that you take, if you are working it right, and yes, of course, I'm biased. I would say working it right would be following our coaching systems that we teach you in what's in the book. But when you have one active listing, every one active listing should at the very least get you another active in the same neighborhood within a week or 2 of you either listing it or the sold, the pending sign going up, and at just an epic number of potential buyers. So even the sign alone will generate for you. Now, what about a buyer? You're driving them around, you're meeting them at houses. Nobody knows who they are. You're not advertising them. How is that going to generate for you? Listings are different. And think of everything you can do with a listing. And it's amazing to me. I do understand, okay, the market's high. We're not talking about worrying about that the listing is going to sell. In today's market, it's probably going to sell. Okay. Part of the issue is that it's selling so fast, you guys aren't generating enough off of it. And for a while, the solution was coming soon. That's why listing agents did coming soon. They created days on the market, so they had time to generate off the sign. Buyers agents got mad about that. We then outlawed coming soon. There are some workarounds to that. Keep it legal. Ask Jonna, ask us, ask your brokers what's going on with what you can and cannot do. Because of the ruling of the MLS, you've got to advertise it. You've got to pop it in the second, 24 hours from actually starting to advertise it. So fast forward, you have fewer days on the market, but there are many, many things you can do with that listing. I can't believe that because the market's so hot, agents skip the for sale sign. Why would I put a sign in the yard? I'll just put in the MLS. It'll sell by midnight. Well, okay, duh, of course it will. That's not the point. The point is for you to generate listings off of your hard work to get that listing. So you have the sign. You have lots of ways. We had a podcast called How to Hot Rod Your Real Estate Sign. Again, for you, I always joke that I believe in agent agency. You guys have buyer agency and seller agency. I believe in agent agency. I'm looking out for you, okay? Outfit your sign with 1-800-HOME hotline. Put a brochure box on it that's weatherproof, a clear brochure box with nice looking, you can call them flyers, but let's say brochures, class it up a little bit. Again, not because I think you need the brochure to sell the house. It's because the person taking it out of the brochure box is interested in that neighborhood and they were going to call you because you've got that listing. You probably know about what else is coming up in that neighborhood. You want the phone to ring. On the back of your brochure, you can have things through 800-HOME hotline or link it to your mobile phone that says, interested in this home, ask me about everything else in Idaho Falls neighborhood XYZ, whatever they're looking in, okay? Because maybe they looked at your flyer and you have a 3-bedroom, but they've got to have a 4-bedroom, but they love that neighborhood. So they're going to call you anyway, instead of not call you because you either didn't have a brochure on the sign or you didn't have a sign or you didn't have something on the back of your brochure. And the list goes on, just listed cards, just sold cards, just sold and listed calls. You can do things, there's lots of different ways. Obviously, social media, you're going to say, ask me about everything else coming up. And who are your first calls on the sign? Pop quiz. Anybody know who your first calls are on the sign when you have a sign? Anyone? Bueller? Jonna?
Probably potential sellers in the neighborhood.
Yes, because they want to know what the price is. They want to know, is that this or that model? Did they have the bonus room? Whatever. Okay. And so the next mistake, agents, when they do use a sign, don't always call people back or answer their phone right away because they think it's just another buyer call. I don't need any more buyers. Which home in the area do you plan on selling? Best script ever on every call. I don't care what price range or how it's coming to you. Even email inquiries. Which home in the area do you plan on selling? You've got to have more listings, especially this year.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You got us sold. You got us sold.
I have more
listings. So this call is, we're talking about this challenge, 22 listings in 2022. This is a challenge and we're going to put out some action steps. So I'm super excited about this. I'm taking it. My team is taking it. I know they're here on the call. If someone wants to take this challenge seriously to really, truly list this 22 homes in 1 year, what do they need to consider?
Yes. Okay. So time to take notes, typing hands, write it down. Number one, you have to have a specific goal of how many listings by what date. Okay. Maybe you're really experienced like Jonna is, and maybe Jonna's goal is going to be to take 22 listings by July 1st. But maybe, no pressure, Jonna, but maybe you just got licensed and you've never had a listing before. Maybe your goal is to take 2 listings in the next 30 days. That's doable. So adjust accordingly. But what's not okay is to not have a goal. You've got to be very definitive how many listings by what date. And I would also add, what is it worth to you? Now, if you have never sold that many houses before, use the average sale price where you live, okay? You can look that up easily. Your MLS will tell you, your broker will tell you, use your average sale price. If you've been in business for a while, you have your own average sale price, times your average net commission, times how many listings we're talking about, will give you a specific income goal. So define it in units, but also define it in money. So perhaps the goal is, 10 listings and it's worth 125,000 to you, top line, do your math, right? But you've got to be really specific because how do you know if you're winning the game if you haven't defined what the game is? Okay. So that's number one, is be very specific with your listing goal and put a date on it. Number two, identify your lead generators. Where will your listings come from? Now, this is something Jonna can help you with. This is something that reading the Harris Rules book will help you with. We just did a podcast, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago, 12 ways to list 22 homes in 2022. So there's 12 ways, and I can get into some of that later if you'd like. I just want to put that in your head. You've got to identify where are they going to come from. So for example, if half of your business last year came from past clients, but you didn't really do that much to generate it. It was just the momentum of the market. You talked to them now and then, but you weren't that consistent, but you still did half your business from past clients. Well, what would happen if you were consistent? You used a great script, you drilled down on your schedule. How many more would you get? For example, maybe you're really good at probate, but you've got this big list of people that you just have to follow up with. Where are your deals going to come from? And we can help you with some options for that. Then we have number 3, schedule and focus. Focus stands for follow one course until successful. That's not trying this out, dribbing and drabbing, seeing whether this widget will work. It's follow one course until successful. So if you make the commitment to say, speak with your entire database in the next 90 days, and you've divided it out, and you know you have to talk to 5 real conversations, 5 people a day, well, that's your focus. Follow one course until successful. Don't do it for 2 days and get frustrated because you hit voicemail and then just throw out the project. Follow one course until successful, but actually follow some level of a schedule. That doesn't mean between 9 and 9:10 that I do this. I brush my teeth. Well, hopefully you do that without being told, right? But I have an 8-year-old, so I slip sometimes. But what it does mean is stay media free in the morning, make your contacts in the morning, not because we think that people are magically home, but we know that you're going to get distracted and have other things going on during the day. So get it over with. My coaching clients have a goal of setting 1 pre-qualified appointment before noon every day. Now, you don't instantly get there. You have to build your skills, but many of them are getting there. There's a variety of different types of qualified appointments that you can set. But the point is that that's what's going on in your head. I've got to get a new appointment by noon. And when you get good at that, you'll feel so much better about everything else, because when you have a deal go sideways, or a buyer you've been working with for the past 10 showings decides they've lost their will to buy, you get a lot less pissed off. When you set a new qualified appointment this morning, you're like, okay, next, right? So it's kind of a mindset thing intertwined with a schedule thing. Then you've got number 4, accountability. Who's holding you accountable? And accountability partners are kind of a slippery slope, because what if they don't show up? Is it their fault that you're not being accountable? I'm a little bit, sketch on that, but you can have other accountability like visual whiteboards. You walk in your office, tells you what to do. If your goal is 10 listings and you've only got 3 on the board, there's some visual accountability there. And then you've got number 5, and that'll be my final answer to Jonna's question about how do you get serious about this. And number 5 is define the reward. The money's the reward, sure, but why? Why'd you even get into real estate? What are you trying to do here? And the real estate treasure map will help you with that, to define. It's not enough to just say, I want to make more money. Of course you do. Nobody's ever said to me or Jonna, I want to make less money this year. Of course you want to make more money, but why? Why? Do you want to go on a trip? Do you want to pay off a credit card? Do you want to pay for your kids' college? Do you want to put an addition on your house? Do you want to pay cash for your next car? Why? What's the deal? Okay. And if you have trouble with that and you need to start thinking bigger, we can help you with that. I always send people to, I've actually been to your Barnes and Noble in Jonna's town, to go to the magazine section and just pick some stuff that you're kind of interested in, like go to Travel and Leisure and say, you know what, where's a place in the world that I would love to travel to? I'm going to pay cash. I'm going to fly first class. I'm going to stay in nice hotels. I'm not going to fly Yak Air on a discount. Okay. I want to have fun with this. Well, what is that worth to you? Is that a $20,000 trip? Is it a $10,000 trip? I know going to Disney now is like a $5,000 trip. When did that happen? Right. So, but define it. Now, you can also have, if you really remember, we talk about the carrot and the stick. Everybody says they're all motivated to get something or to have something more to pay off debt. That's kind of true. But for some people, thinking about, what if I don't do this? Does that mean I'm going to fail out of real estate and I got to start over with something else, and I'm going to carry some debt while I do it? What's the negative ramifications of not doing it? That's the stick part, right? So maybe you set something up where, okay, you don't get that trip. Not only do you not get that trip, but you've just gotten further in debt, and you won't be refinancing the house because now your ratios are screwed up and nobody wants to refi you. What's the negative part of not doing it? Okay, so this changes with different scenarios in life, right? So our kid, I just got her report card. She got like all A+ in math. Didn't get that from me, okay? But here's the I can do 3% all day long. But other than that, why did she get all the good grades in math? Because guess what? When she has an attitude problem or she gets in trouble, she has to do 50 math problems. So miraculously now she's really good at math. So that's a combination of the carrot and the stick, right? She gets to be good at math, but the stick is the punishment. And now and then she has to do a lot of math problems. Well, what are your math problems, right? What's your negative ramification? Because the fact of the matter is many people don't find their motivation until they have something bad happen. Don't let it get to the point where you can't make your mortgage payment, right? That's not the right choice. But some people have to feel that. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons we know that is through coaching. One of the times that agents are most motivated is, guess what? Tax time. They find out what they owe. Now all of a sudden they'll pick up the phone. They're over it, right? But when they have money in the bank, they'll skate for a while. I got 3 months of reserves, so I don't really have to work that hard until next month. You guys know this is true. Some of you, okay? You don't have to confess, but we know it's true. So that's kind of my take on that. You have to get serious about it if you're serious about these goals. Now, I always tease my coaching clients, especially, people that can take it because they know the rules, is look, you have an option. You don't have to have big goals in life. You can scale your goals back. Maybe you don't need 22 listings. It's fine. It's your choice. But when I have somebody that says, I want to do these 22 listings because I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and E, and these are really important to me, and I'm willing to do the work. I'm going to follow a schedule. I'm going to be coachable. And 2 or 3 weeks later, nothing's really changed. Then my job is to say, guess it's time to ratchet back your goals. What do you want to cross off the list? What are we not going to do? And then usually the next week they're on the stick, but not always.
Oh, that's so good, Julie. Another thing I was thinking about as you were talking about that, I see a lot of agents that set these goals. Either they'll set them too realistic and too easy to catch, or they'll go so far into the atmosphere that there's no way humanly possible. I would say, a reach goal is really, really good. And a lot of times, in fact, most of the time, if you're like me, you're probably going to fall a little bit short, but I just want to encourage you, don't give up, don't retreat.
That's right.
You hear that saying about reaching for the stars, right? You may not catch the moon, but you'll catch a star. You're going to get so much further than if you hadn't pushed yourself. I remember as a new agent, I set up 40, as a little kid, you make the little rings to put around the Christmas tree of the construction paper. I did 40 construction paper rings for 40 sales that year to take it shorter and shorter and shorter. I still wound up with a little bit of it at the end of the year, but I bet you I did 10 more deals
than you would have if you didn't have it, right?
Right.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
So, when you're an archer, you've got your bow and arrow and you've got your target downfield. Are you aiming above, at, or below the target? Well, if you've ever watched arrows being shot, you're aiming it a little bit high because the trajectory is going to get you closer to target. So it's okay to aim high and fall a little bit short. There's nothing wrong with that. It's really not okay as a human. Really, I believe this. You can disagree, but it's not okay to not have something you're going towards. It's okay to fall a little bit below that goal. But to Jonna's point too, remember that goals have to be smart, specific, measurable, attainable, to Jonna's point, realistic, and timely. Okay. So for example, I'm not going to be joining the NBA anytime soon. Athletic as I am, that's probably not an attainable goal for me. Okay. Now, some of you on here, maybe that's different for you. I'm probably not going to be a race car driver. Okay. But I can achieve other things that are maybe a stretch for me, but still attainable and realistic. And Jonna's absolutely right. There's a balance between maybe you got your license yesterday and you set a goal of selling 100 houses this year. Well, that's probably not realistic, even if you are super coachable and you do everything, because the market currently isn't necessarily cooperating with you, and because you may not actually have the skill yet to get to that higher volume. So usually when I have somebody, let's say typical coaching client, some of you guys are coming in at between 3 and 12 million in volume. And so maybe what you're used to doing is 2 or 3 transactions at a time, but you want to make that 5 or 6. You want to leap to that next level, right? So as a coach, I'll say, okay, that's a great goal to have. We're not going to instantly get there probably because we have to add some lead generation. We have to maybe do some scripting, some objection handling. We've got to look in other places in today's market for more listings. So what I'll do is, let's say you're averaging 2 deals per month and you want to be at 4. I'm going to help you set a goal that's more attainable. It's a stretch. It's different. You have to do different things. So for 90 days, I want you to do 3 transactions per month. We're not going to jump right to 4 or 5 per month. We're going to take you from averaging 2 to averaging 3, because what the work that you do to get up to that next level will set you up to then be able to do 4 per month. And along the way, some of you will find out that you don't need to do that bigger goal because of the money you're making at the in-between goal, especially now because your average sale price is so crazy.
Right. People got raises. I know here in Boise, we got raises. So that was a blessing.
Yeah.
Julie, can we walk through a couple of examples of where the agents that are here with us today that have had listings, where they're getting their listings from, and unpack that? Because we need to know, look at our past to obtain our future sales, it sounds like.
Yes. And I'd like some of you guys, I don't have my text up so I can concentrate here.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the chat. I allowed you to unmute yourself. Does anyone have an example that's had listings?
Where'd they come from?
Yeah, where did they come from?
Anyone?
I'm looking to see if anyone's unmuting themselves.
Who's last deal? Look at your transactions.
I see Ziggy on here. I know she's had some listings. Oh, she's driving. Oh, Rob is raising his hand. Can you unmute Rob? Yep.
Or you can type it.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Okay, there we go. So actually, I sold one of my listings a few minutes before we went on the call today, so that was good. And when I say I sold, I got it sold, 10,000 over list price, so that was good. And then I'm putting on some signs and lockbox for a new listing I'm doing this week. And so this is a good week for me. One of them came from my sphere of influence and a neighbor. And then one of them came from actually using Land Voice doing FSBO prospecting. And so I'm a believer of that. I need to do better. I will do better, but there's some progress there for this week.
Congratulations. Nice job.
Thank you.
And I like to hear the variety too. I think you have a much stronger business when you have more than one source of business.
Spokes.
Yeah, because, I love past client center of influence, repeat and referral business. And I love that for all of you guys because they generally trust you more. They're not going to harass you for commission deals. Generally, they have more than one transaction. It's all good, right? If all of you guys could choose who your next deal was, wouldn't it be somebody you already know in a good way, right? Okay. But you've got to beef up in order to get to the next level. You have to have more, like what Rob said. He's also using Land Voice for expireds for sale by owners. Because maybe you're the best at talking to your past clients, but for whatever reason this week you're just not feeling the love. Nobody's raised their hand. They're like, yeah, when I'm ready, I'll call you. Yeah, when I'm ready, I'll call you. Blah blah blah. Okay, great, you did a good job. Don't stop talking to them. But maybe your next, because you call for sale by owners and expireds, now you have somebody who said, you know what? I'm so glad you called today because I've already got 2 other interviews signed up. The agent who I thought was going to do the job dropped the ball. I don't know what happened. Can you come over tomorrow? And you don't get that if you're not making the calls. Same thing for all of the other spokes. If you're not working it, you're not going to get it. If you're a one spoke wonder, and most people who are, it's usually past client center of influence, although I've had some variation of that over the years, but it's usually that. And there's a little market shift. People get a little nervous. They watch too much media and they're convinced that interest rates are going to just pop up to 17% tomorrow. They do nothing. When the market gets nervous, they tend to do nothing, which means you have to search other places for people who have to do something. Yeah, if that makes sense. But good job, Rob. Who else has something to share that where your deals came from?
Lisa Caulfield is in the audience, and I'm not sure if you can unmute, Lisa, but you mentioned open houses, bars and restaurants. Have to hear more about that. Friends, neighbors, family, sphere, and buying leads. So real mix there. Great.
Yes. I love open houses. There's a way, I think we had a podcast called How to Monetize an Open House, not just sit an open house. Makes our heads want to blow off when an agent says, I'm going to go sit an open house. Okay, you're going to go there and sit. Really? Yeah. Make it a lead generator.
Well, let's unpack that for a second, because I think there's I know as personally, a lot of the agents on our call today happen to be a little bit newer and they're really utilizing that spoke of open houses. So how do you identify a seller at an open house?
Well, I think there's a list that I can kind of go through, but the first thing is the house matters. So if you want a bunch of first-time buyers, hold a first-time buyer house open, right? So if you're in the lower end of your market and that's what's open, you can kind of predict that who's coming in the door is probably renting right now. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Some people specialize in that. That's fine. They need help too. But if you want listing leads, go up market, go in a popular neighborhood, popular school district, something that has lots of amenities. Like everybody wants to live in that neighborhood. That's going to be a killer open house. Okay. And promote the daylights out of it. Have 10 directional signs. Advertise it, in your paper, especially now. Open houses just kill it right now. I have a coaching client in Northern Virginia. She had an open house last weekend. She had 138 people through. Okay. Now, how do you even manage that? Well, she has her husband out with the iPad. They're signing in, they're getting the information. Her job this week is to contact all of them with the simple script. Which home in the area do you plan on selling? That's how you find your sellers, but you are more likely to get them the higher up you go without going super high. Once you get, into the kind of luxury end, and that's different for everybody. People have moved 4 or 5 times. They might have a relationship already. Maybe not. That doesn't mean they're not gettable, but right in that middle kind of move up, second time move up, first time move up, that's golden. Every time, like Kelly and I mentioned, every time she does that, she gets between 3 and 6 listing leads when she has that kind of volume of turnout. This week, she had to hold somebody else's house open because she's out of listings, but she did her open house anyway because she follows focus, follow one course until successful. She said she's going to do 3 this month. She's going to do 3, even if it's not her listing.
That is phenomenal. I think when you open your eyes and your ears and your mind, and the sources for listing leads is almost infinite. So many different variations. Naya mentioned, and Naya is a great newer agent. She says, at work, someone told me they were thinking of selling their home. I said, ooh, really? Okay, so what would Naya say? Yes, we'll say next when someone.
Yes, that's a good positive response to start. Yes, I know. Okay, so yes, tell me more about your situation. Get them to talk. So those of you who are a little bit just learning your scripts and getting more comfortable conversationally, you have what we call bridge scripts, so which you can, or situational scripts. You can use them many different ways, right? So you're thinking about listing. That's fantastic. Tell me more about your situation. Okay. Somebody could say something totally out of your wheelhouse. I've got a commercial building. I don't know what to do with it. I'm thinking about selling it. Maybe you're not a commercial agent. I wasn't really a commercial agent. That's interesting. Tell me more about the building. I'm going to at least dig deeper and see what's going on. When it sells, don't say if it sells, when it sells. Okay. What are you reinvesting? Where will you go next? Okay. But tell me more about your situation is golden. Paint me a picture. That can be a transition. Paint me a picture. Ideally, how does this go for you? Time frame. Tell me, when would you like to have this done by? Are you speaking with somebody, or is this something we should sit down and have a cup of coffee over? Just, have confidence and ask lots of questions.
I love that. Practice.
And of course we have more
listening.
scripts.
Listening. I think sometimes we get so intent on getting out all of our words that we don't really listen
Yes,
to where they are, to where they're truly at.
Get their story. I originally learned that from our first broker, Rory, and his marketing was always tell your story to Rory. And I asked him about that. And he's like, all you have to do is get their story. And if it makes sense for you to work with them, use their story to close for an appointment. So let's say that we were in her situation. They said, well, we're thinking about downsizing, whatever. Okay. So downsizing, that's interesting. We do that locally, or are you looking to move out of state? More questions. Because I'm also seeing, is this a buyer side also? That's what I'm thinking. But what I'm saying is, will you be downsizing locally or moving out of state? Well, we're thinking about going locally. Okay, fantastic. Where do you have a feel for someplace you'd like to go? Because one of 2 things is going to happen. They're going to say, yeah, we're already in contract. We're building a condo with so-and-so builder. Now that's a hot lead because they probably don't want 2 mortgages. Now I'm really closing. Or they're going to say, well, we've been thinking about moving to Florida. Do you know any realtors there? Now this is going to be a longer conversation, but I'm still going to follow up. Ask questions.
Right.
Get
and
their
never
story.
lose that opportunity for a referral too. I think a lot of people think about it after the fact, but
I know.
Particularly, for those of you that are at eXp Realty, we are an international brokerage, 75,000 agents at this time of this viewing. So
Yeah.
I mean, you have no excuse not to collect that referral.
Jonna will find you somebody to connect with.
Yeah,
You can go to EXP World and say, who do we have in wherever? But,
totally.
you know,
Yeah.
keep it in our organization as much as possible because we like to help each other out. But yeah, I would agree with Jonna is that most agents don't think referrals. They just hear, oh, they're not buying locally, you know? So that's something to keep track of and make sure you're following up on those referrals too.
Right. Amy, I know, is on the call, and Amy is doing a great job on soliciting referrals, and most of the leads she's calling, then she's like, I see her next thing I know, she's on EXP and Workplace and putting out for referrals, and she's got some in contract right now. And it really, really is a great addition to your bottom line.
For sure. That's found money, really.
Totally. Okay, Julie, what else do we need to cover? Because I know we're cognizant of your time and there's so much.
Okay, well, so let's do, if we have time, let's do a little exercise about where are we going to find these listings? And thank you guys for sharing where you're getting your listings from. Let's take out another new piece of paper and you're going to draw a circle. Jonna knows where I'm going with this. You're going to draw a circle and you're going to make this into your spokes in the wheel analogy. Okay, so you can put, I like to put a dollar sign in the middle to remind you what the point is. And you're going to draw one spoke. And for most of you, everybody has a center of influence. So everybody can write center of influence. These are people who you know, people who know you. They're the people who are your contacts in your cell phone. That's your center of influence, okay, and your email list. All right, and now people who have past clients, you can add past clients because it's basically the same conversation. That's one spoke. This should be your foundational spoke. Remember, we use spokes in the wheel analogy because if you only have one spoke in your wheel, you can kind of go slowly, maybe for a little bit, but you hit a pebble in the road, you're wiped out. Like when the market changes and the only thing you know how to do is pass clients in sphere. They're important, but they shouldn't be your only spoke. Should be your first spoke. Somebody mentioned, I think Rob mentioned his neighbor who was part of his sphere. Okay, that's part of that spoke. All right, so then the next spoke, look at those of you who have past transactions, which is most of you. Where were your deals from? Like, let's say your past 5 deals, where'd they come from? That'll tell you if you have functioning spokes. Luck is not a spoke. Hopium is not a spoke, okay? It's gotta be something identifiable. Past client, center of influence. It could be for sale by owner, like Rob would say land voice is working for him, okay? Open house, that should be a spoke for all of you, especially now because it's killing it to the degree it is. I had a client in San Francisco, she had almost 1,000 people through the house. I asked her if it needs rehabbed now, because how can you have 1,000 people through a 1,200 square foot house, right? That's the house party. And it sold for almost twice what it was listed for, okay? Extreme example, yes, but you don't need 1,000 people. Maybe you have 10 and 2 of them are listings, right? So open houses should be a spoke. If they're not yet, make sure you listen to the podcast we've done on them, talked about that with Jonna, get the book, the real estate treasure map, join our coaching, okay? Make open houses a spoke. Then I'm a big fan of for sale by owners and expireds. They should be 2 separate spokes, similar script, different tendencies, okay? And we have lots of coaching on that, how to go about it, how to identify them, what to say on the phone. But why do we like them so much? Because they have their hand in the air. You guys complain about phone numbers. A for sale by owner is giving you their phone number and saying, I have a house to sell. You guys do what for a living? Sell houses, probably should talk to each other. I'm just saying. I have lots of reports from coaching clients where they did contact for sale by owners. Some of you guys have these examples, right? And normally the conversation would be the FSBO is doing that so they can save money. Okay, our coaching clients, Jonna, you have people in your organization that do this. They list that for sale by owner. They actually get them more than what the FSBO was trying to get because it has better exposure. They hold an open house, they get multiple offers. That's it. A lot of for sale by owners are also buyers. Okay. A lot of for sale by owners are investors. They have more than one house to sell. So expireds, I love them because the agent you normally would have competed against basically has failed for whatever reason. Okay. For many, that would be stiff competition because that person probably was in their center of influence. They probably already knew each other. It's more than likely. For whatever reason, they didn't do the job. So now you have less competition. You have at least some sense that the price may or may not be right. Normally, I'd say the price is wrong in a normal market, but today you probably can get more just in the time we've been talking, right?
Yeah.
So the CMA is easier. You have some basis to go on. They have demonstrated not just that they have a house to sell, but they're willing to list, which makes them slightly easier than for sale by owners. Okay, and I could go on, but FSBO's expired. Probate can be good. A lot of agents don't work probate. We're going to be talking about that on a future podcast. You have new construction. Okay. Yes, it is true. I'll give you some facts. Some builders are not paying full commission or no commission right now because they don't need to. That's not all of them. Okay. I have clients right now that have full listing deals with those builders because the builders want to spend their time building houses, not trying to sell houses. Okay. So some builders, that's true. Some builders, there's a wait list. There's no inventory. Some builders, there's competition on just finding a lot that you can even build on. All of that is true. But it's also true that there are builders out there that are blowing out the last, like their model homes. It's the end of the neighborhood. It's all sold out. And now their models are for sale. There are builders that have so much being built right now that they do have special perks on certain lots or certain houses. You have to find them. Okay. I got an email from Lennar Homes in Texas. It had 6 different subdivisions, and each one of them, they had 3 or 4 houses that were still available for different reasons. People backed out. They didn't get their financing. They didn't sell their house, whatever. Okay. And they had full commission on all of them. And some of them had bonuses if they're sold by, I think it was May. Okay. Then they had another list of model homes that they were selling, and it said investors welcome, which is unusual. A lot of builders are like, no, we don't want a bunch of rentals. We only, don't even look here. But you have to know the inventory. So new construction is a valid spoke, but there are many working parts. It's kind of got its own little mini spokes going, but don't believe that it's not around. So those are some of my top spokes. We teach other ones. Some unusual things. I've got a client that prospects, we used to call them nursing homes. Now they're assisted living centers, right? Mm-hmm. So she goes, how do people pay for that? They sell their houses. They cash out their equity. Now they're going to go live at assisted living care, and they're going to pay for that because they sold their house. Well, there are housing intake coordinators. There are liaisons that are in charge of following up with that person because they're just kind of investigating right now. They're not ready to sell their house. They're just like, what's going to be next when it's time for me to go there? Okay, so you can connect with them. She has a pre-listing package that has a special page in it, which is extra services that she gives to people who are checking into assisted living, like pet rescue and relocation. That's a big objection. What am I going to do with my dog if I move here? That's something she helps with. And she's got all these organizations that will adopt a pet. She's got a list of, different things she can do. Estate planning is one of her services. She's connected with an estate planner, a stager, an estate sale person, because usually people have a lot of accumulation of stuff, and that's holding them back from breaking up with their house. That's a twist. For her, that's a spoke. That's like her thing. And I didn't come up with that. She invented that. Lots of different angles on that. And then you have investors and you have different people like that. So that's my short list.
That's good. And we could go on. I have a couple more I was thinking of. I was wondering if anybody that's on the call has a spoke or like a special way they've gotten a listing.
And draw them in. Remember our exercise. We're drawing your spokes because you're going to put it on your wall. And maybe you have a really strong spoke that's this, but your learning expires, and you put it on your wall so that when you walk into your office, you see that wheel every day. And if you're saying that you're going to get 3 of your 22 listings this year from expireds, what are you doing about it today? That's why you have visual accountability. Mm-hmm. But who else has other spokes? It can be unusual. It could be standard issue.
Anyone?
You like my subliminal message here?
Yeah.
The places you'll go.
That's right.
See?
Okay. Anyone who has something pop up, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll share a couple that I've come up with.
Yes, please.
YouTube videos and not paid, fancy, expensive YouTube videos, but a few years ago, Marcy, who's my listing coordinator, and myself put together some iPhone listing videos going through some luxury neighborhoods and just highlighting them. And we've gotten, I tracked our listings from last year, and we actually got 2 listings that originated from that, not paid videos or anything like that, but they just came across them and were impressed, and we listed their homes. So
I love that.
YouTube's can be a free resource.
So just to drill down on that, because I love that. I think that's a great thing that you can do. That is you're not like hiring a videographer and spending all this money on it. You're just being
saying,
really
it's iPhone. It's
authentic iPhone. That's okay. Yeah. People like that. Make it real.
Right.
So maybe you identify 10 popular neighborhoods, And you do a little video about this neighborhood. It has a neighborhood pool. It has a park. It's in the XYZ school district. Currently, the average is going for between this and this. If you're interested, ask me about what's coming up in this neighborhood. If you have questions about the homeowners association, give me a call. This is one of the neighborhoods that I work in. It'd be a pleasure to speak with you, right? And then when somebody's searching, they're Googling, Idaho Falls, maybe Jonna pops up. Oh, here's
That's
somebody
what
who's
happens.
knowledgeable.
That is what happens. And it's so
Perfect.
much because I spent years farming neighborhoods, like with the postcards, and
Mhm.
it got very expensive very quickly. And I found this was a much more evergreen, simple way to go about showing that I have knowledge about that particular neighborhood.
Perfect. And everyone on this Zoom can do what you just said. Everyone, you wouldn't be here if you didn't have a smartphone, right?
Right.
You can do this
Totally.
and make it fun, make it fun, have fun with it.
A couple of
So,
others, Julie, that you meant that we were looking that actually listening to your podcast that I thought were great to bring up for rent by owners.
Oh, yes.
That's
For rent by owners. I love them. So for rent by owners, that's one of the easiest scripts that we teach because it is a business conversation. So one reason I love them is because you don't have much competition. Who calls for rent by owners? Virtually nobody. For a rent by owner that you're looking for, there's different versions, but really it's a small investor. Somebody like Jonna, somebody like Tim and I that have like some rental homes, but we're not like this vast conglomerate, right? And they're mostly single family. So it's a house, it'd be a great listing, right? Maybe even a double or a quad, but generally a single family. And you're going to call it and you're going to ask me, first thing is it still available? Because if it's just rented, then you're done, right? Yes, it's still available. I just put it up a couple of weekends ago. We're just looking for the right tenant. You're going to ask, well, the reason I'm calling, you probably noticed there's not a lot of for sale signs around. I'm curious, would you consider selling it versus continuing to try to rent it? And of course, it's better if they've had it on the market for a while. But for a while right now, it's 2 weekends and it's not rented, right? So they're going to say one of two things. This is a very cut and dry script. They're either going to say, no, I'm going to keep it forever. That's usually what I say when I get these calls, which is like every day. Okay, no, this is part of my portfolio. I'm going to, pass it along to my kid. Poor thing. But so no, I'm going to keep it forever. Or more likely, they're going to say, well, I don't know. What price do you think you could get for this in today's market? To which you say, it'd be my pleasure to do a free comparative market analysis. Let me crunch some numbers. Tell me more about the house. Well, I haven't rehabbed it in 30 years. Or they're going to go on, blah, 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 I'll tell you their whole story. Okay, how much are you getting in rent? How much has it been rented for? Is it a VRBO or a normal rental? What's the deal? They're going to tell you their story. You're going to do a free CMA and they're going to make a business decision. Do they want $550,000 for that house or don't they? Okay, now, while you have them, by the way, I find that many investors in your situation have other homes that they own. Is there something else that you might be considering selling? Who else do you know who could use my help buying or selling real estate? There's many different ways you can go with that, but there's a phone number, right? They're advertising the houses for rent. You're in real estate, probably should talk to them. I love the for rent by owners.
yes, and I bring that up because that's actually a fairly major spoke for me.
Oh, yeah.
And I
That's
just
great.
wanted to encourage people. I know you well, Julie, and you say don't drip on people, and drip is like automatic emails and texts.
Fluffery.
Don't do that, but I'm telling you, I have so many houses I've been listing last year or two, and I have one coming up that he reached out to me, or I reached out to him 6 years ago. And
Wow.
every year I just touch base with him on what's
Sure.
going on with their tenants, and he's finally ready.
But you're talking to them. You're not just
talking.
sending them crap.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just doing my yearly, or semi-yearly phone call to see how their tenants are going. And
Perfect.
sooner or later, almost all of them are ready at some point.
They will, or they'll refer somebody to you. And we have people from all different markets here, especially you guys in Florida. One of the things that I have noticed with COVID and different towns are doing different restrictions, right? So there will be a building of condos that will say no more VRBOs, not allowed, or you have to pay a big tax, or your town says you have to do 30 days or less. There are people, this is a variety of for rent by owner, right? So you can prospect them, and a lot of them are sick of the hassle of being it depends on where you're calling. If you're in an area, like I've noticed a lot of Appalachia doesn't have that going on, like mountain homes, they don't have a lot of regulations. So when our agents call there, they're like, oh no, we're making a killing. I'm never selling this. But some of the, like I know Amelia Island in Florida, it totally depends on the building, what's allowable and what's not. So you should be making contact and know what the skinny is on those.
Totally. Yep.
So what else on your list?
Well, door knocking. You haven't touched on door knocking. And again, you all are being shy, but has anyone out there had experience successfully getting a listing?
Raise your hand, door knockers.
Door knocking. If anyone is, please speak up. I personally, that has not been a spoke for me. So I'm always fascinated and curious because it can be a huge spoke, can it?
Well, so has anybody done it? Raise your hands, text. Josefina, she's driving, so maybe we won't torture her, but yes. Hello, be safe. Yes, door knocking, especially now. So here's the
Right.
thing, okay? You don't have to be super awesome at all of your scripts. You just have to ask good questions, right? And have some market knowledge. So if you're going to go door knocking, identify your neighborhood or your building. You should know something about it. What is currently for sale? What's pending? What's the average days on the market? What's sold in the past 6 months? What's coming up? If you know what's coming up, you should check for FSBOs and expireds and maybe know if there's new construction nearby. Okay. And
I'm on
Josefina
mute
has her
now.
hand up, so don't wreck your car, but share your door knocking with us.
No,
my friend.
I'm in the car loop now for my daughter. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself, but I got unmuted. Hi, ladies. This
Great
has
to have
been
you.
a great session. Thank you. So I've never door knocked before. I always work also on referrals, SOI and all that, but I'm trying something new next 90 days, which is door knocking my neighborhood. I have about 175 houses that I'm farming. I ordered newsletters that I had delivered to my house. I also got a hold of Publix. That's the store here in Florida. Everybody knows Publix if you live in Florida, where I am going to go around with a bag to helping the community by filling the pantry of the local food bank.
Yes.
So that's gonna be an excuse of introducing myself, of being the neighbor and what I do, hand deliver my first newsletter, and then provide the bag with a flyer when I'm gonna pick up the food, and at the same time helping the community.
Love it.
And let's see how it goes.
What's on your newsletter? What's in your newsletter?
The newsletter, it just came in, but it's insights on real estate. This one is talking about scarcity of smaller homes, squeezing singles, 9 ways to lower your homeowner's insurance, millennials drawn to agri-hoods, and getting your house ready for the spring market.
Okay, so you've got a
All
good
those
piece of
topics.
education,
Newsletter.
right? That looks great.
Yeah.
So you're giving them something. You're not just, hey, want to sell your house, right? You're giving them something.
Right.
To create that sense of reciprocity. And on top of that, you have a charity laid over that, which also makes it really hard for anybody to pick on you. You're doing something great for the community. I love the charity. You can do toy drives and food drives and fill the pantry. I love that combination of things.
Oh, I do too. And then combined with, if you're inviting people to open house and you've got a 1-2 punch, maybe they can come to the open house and bring that charitable item.
Yes,
No,
you can do it that way too.
So many ideas.
Yes, and you can put some press behind that too, Josefina. You can have pictures, you can put it on social media. Call if you do it that way for your push for the pantry, call your local news outlets, because they're always looking for nice charity stories that they can highlight you on. You can do press releases for free. Even if you just leave messages for your local news channels and one of them calls you back, that's more for you, right? But you can do, if you go to your local, I'm talking about like nobody really reads like the big LA Times, but they're going to look at the Huntington Beach News, which is 10 pages. And I always leaf through that, right? Kind of old school, but we all know we do it, right? And there's a housing section. So if you identify your small local papers and you go to their website, which is often now their Facebook page, it'll say their list of editors, and it'll say who's in charge of the press releases. You click on it, it'll say how many words they want and who to email it to. You write it yourself and you send it. It's free. It's free. So
beautiful.
have fun with that. Anytime you do charitable stuff, you should do that. And let us know how it goes.
Okay.
Definitely. Josefina's a great agent over in the Orlando market. So good to see you on here. Guys, we're going to be cognizant of your time. I know this was a lunch and learn, but I am so thrilled, and I hope that you've gained value. I've asked if anyone has any other questions. I haven't seen anything in the chat. I say this is the last opportunity. If anyone has a burning question about getting these listings, please pop on, put it in the chat or unmute yourself. And
shameless plug for us.
Yes.
If you guys are interested in Premier Coaching, just text Premier to 47372. Okay, text Premier to 47372. We'll take good care of you. If you are interested in the real estate treasure map, you can use that same 47372 and just say treasure map or Harris. You get that easy to remember, Harris, and we'll sort you guys out. And then if you are part of Jonna's group, you know how to reach her if you need help. And there's lots of, I mean, there's really no excuse. There are no dumb questions. There's no lack of, you're too newbie or anything like that. We are here to help you. We are part of your EXP family. That is the whole point of this, is so that we can all help each other together. What's your saying, Jonna? I had it right here. Collaboration over competition. You don't have to worry about the competition when you have such support and you're building your skill and you ask for help. The worst thing you can do is be a secret agent and hide out or be embarrassed that you didn't know this or that. Got to ask for help. That's what we do. Jonna does this all day long. We do it all day long. There's so much out there for you guys to just ask for and say, you know what? I've never done goal setting before. What do I do? Use the real estate treasure map. Well, I don't understand page 73. Send me a text. Reach out to Jonna. We don't hide out. This is what we do.
Totally, or any leader, anyone that invited you on this call. So 2 quick call outs for me. One, I want to celebrate your success. We all do. So if you get a listing in the next 30 days and want to celebrate, will you text me? Text me at 208-608-4884. I don't care what brokerage you're at. I would love to hear your success story. And then we are starting up a clubhouse room for Libertas EXP and anyone that wants to grow on a daily basis. Ziggy, who's I believe is on the call, and I are leading that. And that's going to be every morning at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I want to bring you on that clubhouse and celebrate your success and hear how you got that listing.
Yeah.
And
if you guys haven't done Clubhouse yet, you got to jump on there. It's so valuable, especially run by you two.
We're just
if you text me and remind me, I'll jump on now and then for like 10 minutes if you want. But it's really great because it's live and people can go there and say, hey, you know what? I have to share this story. I call it a victory lap, right? I couldn't believe it. It was only my 3rd listing ever and I won. I was competing for the first time. We want to celebrate that with you. So write down, give them your number again, Jonna.
Totally. 208-608-4884. I'm at Jonna Weber on Clubhouse, and y'all know where to find me. And if you don't, and if you're, I'll just say, if you're not with EXP Realty, particularly with having explored anything like that, that number is great for that too. 208-608-4884. We'll just have a confidential conversation about what is going on in your business and what might be right for you in the future, or reach out to anyone that invited you on this call. And we're just excited to grow together and step into an incredible 2022. Let's grow.
Absolutely. And it's up to you guys to get those listings. That is what's going to be the major difference between you being where you need to be this year and not. You have to go after the listing inventory. Buyers will come. You guys know buyers are not the issue right now. You have to get the listings, even if it makes you a little bit uncomfortable, because you can reach out and get help. Okay. We listed a 1,000-acre oak tree farm. What was it? I can't even remember what it was. We had no experience with that. We had no idea, but we did our research. We reached out for help. We figured that out. Okay. So here's a lasting script for you. Okay. Before Jonna lets you go. And thank you, Jonna. Thank you to your assistant as well for setting this up. I hope we can do more of these.
Shelley.
Of course, my pleasure. So here's the thing. If you are in pursuit, as all of you need to be for those listings, and somebody throws something out at you, you have no idea. Like for me, I don't know about 1,000-acre tree farm. Okay. You can say, tell me more about that. That's interesting. Tell me more about your situation. But always say, it'd be my pleasure to help you with that. Tell me more. And then if you really are in over your head, it's too weird. It's like you're completely, you're getting hives. You have no idea what to say next. Ask more questions. Get help from Jonna. Get help from whoever invited you here. Ask for help, but always say, assuming they're motivated, assuming they're not crazy, okay? You guys know the difference. Always say, yes, it would be my pleasure to help you. Tell me more about your situation. Take some notes, okay? And then you can follow up with, how would you like me to follow up? If you didn't already close for an appointment, how would you like me to follow up? What do you feel are the next steps for you? because then you're digging deeper. You're not just taking whatever they shot at you. Some people will say things just to see how you react, and that's fine, that's normal, but get used to digging deeper. Tell me more about that. What are next steps for you? And then reach out and ask for help, and we will be there for you.
We're a
Okay?
team. We're all in this together.
That's
Thanks
right.
again, Julie. It was a total
My
pleasure.
pleasure.
I had a blast.
Thank
I
you.
hope everyone enjoyed themselves.
Yeah.
We're gonna be doing more of these. So
Perfect.
please stay in touch, stay in contact, and take advantage, because we're here to elevate each other.
Absolutely. Well done, Jonna. Let's do it again. You guys all say thank you to Jonna and her team for putting this together. And keep in
Thanks,
touch.
guys. I see all your comments too. You're doing great. So proud of everyone.
Very
Talk
good.
to you soon.